I want to take a good close look at this new JBL amp. This thing is really interesting. If you're looking for an amplifier, this is definitely something worth giving a look, because this thing is definitely interesting. I like the old school look. Look at it. It looks like an old Rockford punch amplifier. And it's heavy like an old Rockford punch amp too. Small but powerful. First, before I get started, I'm going to basically set the camera up onto the top of the amplifier, because that's really where the meat and potatoes of it is. However, I do want to explore a little bit on the side and show you what's going on. On this side, you have your power ground remote, you have 4-gauge inputs, you have this ridiculous 8-gauge input for your remote terminal. On the good side, you know, it's nice and beefy. You have plenty of wire gauge size here to amply put in just about anything you want to put in there, obviously. The remote wire doesn't necessarily need to be as big, and I would have liked to seen a little bit of a better connector, so that way you would have not shredded the wire when you spin it around in a circle. I mean, of course, the tops come down, you screw it down, and what happens is the wire kind of gets a little frayed and kind of weird looking, but, you know, what are you going to do? On the side, typical looking Harman setup for your one step up for 2 channels and another 2 right there. Bridge layout is right there. You have your left and rights proprietarily, of course, laid out very simply, just like they always have been in any Harman product, whether it be JBL, Infinity, you name it. On the other side, we have the protection light. You have your gain LEDs on and off, front and rear. Over here you have your low level, so you have low, high 1 and high 2. Inputs for your front RCAs, rear RCAs, and auxiliary output. So you have a slave output if you want to run it to another 4-channel amp, 2-channel amplifier, or a separate sub amp, I'm sorry, if you wanted to. Now, these actually normally take a normal RCA cable, as they always have been, normal RCA composite input. But nowadays, this is what they're using. They're using these little connectors, which actually allow you the opportunity to take a speaker wire and just not buying an adapter like a line level converter. You would put the 2 wires right into the one side of the back of this plug and plug this into the RCA jack just like that. It does away with the entire adapter situation entirely. So that's new. Never seen that before. So let's move to the top, and I'll go over some of the more important specs that I think are really noteworthy on this amplifier. So here we are, we're looking at the top side of this amplifier. Before I get going, I already measured it, but I want to go through that with you, so that way if you're doing a custom installation, if you just need to know if you have ample space for the amplifier in your vehicle, let me give you those to you right now. So we have 11 and 15/16 in width, so almost 12 inches wide, 2 and 5/8 in height, 2 and 5/8 in height, and 9 and 11/16 in depth. So it's 11 and 15/16 wide, 2 and 5/8 in height, 9 and 11/16 in depth. So that's that. Now over here on the top, you have it all laid out. You have for your front channel and your rear channel. You notice that the front channel, you got these 3 controls, and on your rear, a little different. You get 4. So let's talk about the front, which is more simple. You have high pass, low pass, simple switch right here, or you can leave it in the middle, which is flat. Doesn't say it on there, however, that's what it would be. Your crossover point starts at 40 Hertz on the low end. It goes all the way up to 220 Hertz. So you see what's going on. They're expecting you to utilize this for a front channel and basically limit low frequencies from 220 Hertz and down, which makes sense, because in any audio system, in my entire experience of ever using an amplifier, I've almost always used a set of front component speakers and always crossed them over somewhere between, you know, 60 Hertz to 130 Hertz. That's usually where I've always been. So that's fine, no problem. It's not a plus, it's not a minus. It's just, in my opinion, what should be expected in using an amplifier such as this. And with a JBL brand, and it should be well known that this company is going to expect that the person using this amplifier as the end product knows how to treat and use this amplifier properly. So I'm good with that. Your gain, which is minimum max, and I want to talk about these little lights here. They're a little strange, and I want to talk about that, but not just yet. It's a new technology, and it deserves its own little time spot just in and of itself. Your rear channel, same thing, 40 Hertz, tops off at 220 Hertz. You have your gain, and you have your base 0 to 12 dB potentiometer for that one feature in and of itself. And I'm going to get involved in this a little bit more right about now. So let me explain to you what's going on. On this GTO 804, it's a 4-channel amp. It'll drive each of your front and rear speakers 80 watts RMS, bringing tons of sound in there. Bridged in 2-channel mode, it can run a couple of subs up to 200 watts each. It looks very cool. Like I said, it's very old school, kind of looks like the old Rockford style. It's very tough and rugged looking. It's very manly looking. So we're good with that. Now this amplifier is very interesting. It's almost like home theater, you know, looking, because this amplifier is the first amplifier I've ever seen that comes with one of these, which is a setup CD. You ever seen that before? I didn't think so. So what's going on here is that it has JBL has come up with this foolproof method of just getting it right, so that way when you install the amplifier, you're going to get the most performance and less distortion as possible. It gives you test tones on the included setup CD, so you adjust the gain knob until the yellow light or the red lights, like I was talking about here, go on to indicate if the gain is okay, if it's on solid. If it's clipping in the signal, it'll tell you that it's going to actually potentially damage your speaker or subwoofer. I mean, wow. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I didn't show you, like I should have, as far as the adapters. These are RCA adapters. See, they have the two little machines, screws there for your speaker wire. So if you were going to utilize these, you'd run your speaker wires, you know, splice the ends and just get some wire, twist them into there, and then you basically just jam that right into the amplifier. I mean, that's really a new thing. I've never in my career certainly ever done that. I've always utilized an adapter, just, you know, to make sure you got a good sound wave, and, you know, it's not going to be weird and distorted. But this amplifier, it's got its own little technology, man. It's got its own thing going on. It's really something else. It even tells you if no speakers are present. It has a message for that too. Bass boost, the crossovers, I mean, it'll let you basically tune your system into absolute perfection. The knobs are on the top. You don't need any tiny little screwdrivers to hurt your fingers or your eyeballs trying to see what the heck is going on. It's laid out very simple. As far as technology goes, the amp is an AB made amplifier, thus this monster heatsink. It's not a D-class amplifier. You got the variable high and low pass filters, which I showed you, which range from 40 to 220 hertz. You do not need speaker level inputs, so this is very welcoming for a stock head unit integration. It's ready to go. Fuse rating is 25 amps times 2, so that means 50 watts times 12 volts. And my math always equals 600 watts every day of the week. An amplifier like this is only stating it's doing less than half of that. So of course it's true to its actual measurements, which is something I always look for. And I will never review an amplifier that doesn't do what it does, unless I'm doing a review just to basically mock and pick on it. This amplifier is the opposite. This is something that I could say I would be proud to own in my own vehicle, and I would feel good about having it. I know this amplifier would do what indeed it says it will do. Now, just to recap, RMS power output, 80 watts by 4 channels. Out of the box, no hook and ladder, no tricks up your sleeve. That's what it does, 80 by 4. If you have running at 2 ohms and you want it to be running, you got 100 by 4, not 80 times 4. You would think at 4 ohms would double and be 200 watts times 4 channel at 4 ohms. However, it's not. Again, the ratings, every amplifier is different. You can't look at one and think it's the same for everyone. 80 watts by 4 at 4 ohms, 100 by 4 at 2 ohms. Bridged power, 200 watts RMS times 2 channels. The minimum impedance bridged is 4 ohms. So if you wanted to do 2 channels bridged at 2 ohms, this amplifier is not the one for you. Minimum impedance unbridged is 2. Okay, so that's that. Total harmonic distortion on this amplifier is 1%. That's pretty common of what I'm seeing pretty much these days. Like I said, it is an AB amplifier. It's a MOSFET amp. It's not fan cooled. It does rely on that heat sink. You got the size, you got the power. I mean, you see what's going on. I mean, this amplifier comes with this monstrous book. I mean, there's tons of information, lots of setup information. It's a good product. It's got good service. I know they have good warranties because I've sold and used them many times in the past. So that's my take on this GTO series JBL amp. There you go.